If you're someone who complains of back pain quite often and lives with the constant discomfort throughout your day, this 5-minute stretching routine is the only thing you need to invest for a pain-free, relaxed, elongated back that supports you throughout your day. Especially, this is for all the workaholics out there. In the next 5 minutes, we are not only going to stretch all the muscles and joints that affect your spine health, but we're also going to learn the research and science behind stretching that experts often miss. Because I believe with understanding, you can bring any change. Hi guys, I'm Srishti and welcome to my YouTube channel. Before we start, this is a beginner-friendly workout but is not an alternative for medical advice. So consult a doctor before trying this out if your back pain is really severe. So let's get started. On the screen, you see a breakdown of movements we are going to specifically target to stretch the entirety of our spine. I like to call this the 6 C's. Your overall spine, especially your lower back, your hip flexors, hamstrings, your neck, and finally your upper back. You can follow the timer and it will beep at 30 seconds and 60 seconds for each exercise. So the first stretch is cat and cow. So we'll start on all fours with your wrists under your shoulder and knees under your hips. Take a big inhale, arch your back like a cow and look up. Exhale as you round your spine. Try to tuck your chin towards your chest. We will do this for 30 to 60 seconds. So this becomes a counter spine movement, especially when you're stretching your chest muscles over here. We are improving blood circulation in the spinal disc, which are like cushions between each vertebra all over your spine. This reduces stiffness and activates fluid distribution evenly. This is for anyone who sits for long hours, which is all of us. Prolonged sitting basically puts uneven pressure on our spine. The natural curves of our spine, especially in the lumbar back region in your lower back, either get flattened or are exaggerated. This leads to compression in some parts of your spine more than the others. This occurs because these muscles adapt to the contracted positions they are consistently in. This process is known as adaptive shortening. Now the second stretch is the child's pose. Kneel on the floor with knees wide apart and big toes touching at the back. Sit back on your heels. Extend your arms forward and rest your forehead on the ground. We'll hold this for 30 seconds to a minute. If you feel comfortable, walk your fingers forward. It will cause a further stretch but should not pain. Make sure you stabilize your breathing and we will hold for another 30 seconds. While we hold this position, let's quickly understand what's really happening when you stretch with a visual example. So imagine each of your muscles as a rubber band. When you stretch, it's like you're gently pulling the rubber band, which makes it longer and more flexible. While if you don't stretch it often, it can get stiff and brittle, much like an old or unused rubber band that gets brittle and tends to snap. And for a visual example for joints, like your knees, elbows, and hips, these are like hinges on a door. Over time, if you don't use them properly or let them move in full range of motion, they get squeaky and stiff. And we'll move on to the third one, which is the seated forward bend. Sit with your legs extended straight in front of you. Stretch your arms to the ceiling or take a deep breath. Exhale and reach forward to touch your toes or as far as comfortable. Hold there while keeping your back straight. We'll hold this position for 30 seconds. Now back to the brittle rubber band and squeaky hinges. So stretching is like adding oil to these hinges so that they move smoothly. Why does this happen exactly? Just like a rubber band, our muscles have the ability to increase flexibility and range of motion with gradual movement. So as we are stretching our body, there are tiny units of proteins called sarcomeres in our muscle fibers that are responsible for relaxation and contraction of muscles. When we stretch, these get pulled apart and elongate. This acts as a counter movement to the poor posture our body might have adapted to. The elongating part increases the flexibility. Also, when done consistently, stretching actually adds up the quantity of sarcomeres inside the muscle fiber, resulting into increased range of motion. The next stretch is hip crossover stretch. Start on your back with your knees bent and feet on the floor. Cross one ankle over the opposite knee and gently pull the knee towards your chest. To feel a stretch in your hip, and lower back. Let's hold here for 30 seconds on each side. So another interesting thing that happens while stretching is blood flow. Blood flow increases oxygen supply to the parts that are usually contracted and compressed. This particularly happens because stretching stimulates this molecule called nitric oxide, which is responsible for dilating blood vessels. You must feel this stretch around your thighs, especially your glutes and even your lower back. So once your blood vessels are dilated, blood flow allows effective delivery of nutrients to the parts that are stretched, which speeds up muscle repairs, especially for people who do regular muscle training and generally for everybody who feels stiffness. This relaxes the muscles. Next, we will stretch our neck and upper back. This particularly targets your trapezius muscle, which is one of the broadest muscles on your upper back. This is often stressed after a long working day or prolonged sitting in front of screens or browsing on your mobile. So sit up in a cross-legged or any position that is comfortable to you. Clasp your hands behind your head and gently press your head down towards your chest. This will stretch the back of your neck and upper spine. You should feel this stretch in sort of like the intersection of your neck and your upper back, and it will sort of move around this area. Let's hold this for 20 to 30 seconds. So by now our muscle fiber is feeling more elastic. Oxygen and nutrients is flooded to all the parts and muscles that have been deprived or been compressed due to poor posture habits. This really must feel good after a long work day. One last thing that stretching does that blows my mind is production of collagen. You might have heard collagen as a supplement, which is getting quite mainstream. It is actually a naturally occurring protein fluid inside our joints. So with stretching, what happens is there is a tension created in our connecting tissue. This activates these group of cells called fibroblasts. These cells respond by increasing the production of collagen and elastin, two self-healing proteins that are part of the natural repair system of our bodies. Collagen is a major component of cartilage, which are cushions between bones that prevent bones from rubbing together. Now let's move on to the last finisher stretch, which is the curl rocking stretch. Lay flat on your back and curl up your knees. With active core muscles, clasp your knees with your hands in front of your chest and start rocking back and forth, covering the full length of your spine. Let's do this for 10 times. This is a great way to end your stretch because it massages the whole spine and seals the deal, producing a lot of endorphins, the hormones that are responsible for actually relieving pain and reducing stress. This gives your brain a signal to immediately calm down and puts you in a better mood. This is one of the immediate and profound effects of stretching. Hey, if you're finding this useful, take a minute and share it with one person in your life who keeps complaining about their back and would love these stretches. And in just 5 to 6 minutes, we are done with the easiest stretching routine out there. What we need to remember is overstretching is also something that we want to avoid because that damages the muscle and the joints further. Two quick things that can help is keeping each and every hold not more than 15 to 40 seconds depending on your comfort level. Second is listen to your body. Stretch gradually and slowly to feel good and not for pain. Pain is a signal that you're overstretching or your form is not correct. And just like that, in only under 5 to 6 minutes, we've kissed our body and our mind with a lot of goodness, backed with science. Wait, before you go, I'll leave you with this study that they did at the University of British Columbia on 60 participants, which found out that with only 5 minutes of stretching consistently done over 4 to 6 weeks, in all of the participants, it alleviated pain by 58% and increased flexibility by 30%. On the screen, you will find all the stretches that we did together and the science behind it so that you can put it in front of you wherever you like to stretch. Go have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.